Thanks everybody for joining. This is Daniel Ferguson here for today's Motivational Minute. Today's Motivational Minute is going to be on listening. What's up, Anita for Grace? Hey Mom, how you doing? So today's Motivational Minute is on listening. So how many of you feel that, and if you answer, I apologize, I can't see your answer, so it's kind of a rhetorical question, but how many of you feel that you're good listeners? How many of you feel that your peers or your family or your friends or anyone close to you would also say that you're a good listener? So when we take a step back and see if the people in our life that we respect and that we care about, when we take a step back and see, do they perceive that I am a good listener or not, is where we have to base our listening mindset and our listening engagement. Now, I am driving home from work, so if you guys join and you comment, thank you for joining, thank you for commenting. If I'm at a stoplight, I will respond. I'm trying to make sure that I am being responsible and practicing safe periscoping. But when it comes to listening is an art form that a lot of people think that they are experts at. And those oftentimes that think that they're experts aren't experts at all. And they aren't good listeners at all because they don't understand the concepts and the principles that are associated with listening. Now, the last few periscopes I've been mentioning mentorship, and there's paying attention to the details and working in excellence and going above and beyond and things like that, and having a mentor. Listening is a key part to all of those other periscopes. Listening is a key part to success, because if you can listen well and be able to articulate to someone what they said to you and the way that they said it and the way that they meant it, then you have an ability to get things done at a level of excellence and a level of perfection to move you to the next level in your career, in your life, with your friends, with your family, with your relationships, etc., etc. When I was younger, my dad gave me the CD series called The Complete Course of Listening by Steve Shapiro. And I see people are commenting, but I am driving, so I apologize. I'm not ignoring your comments. If I'm stopped at a stoplight and I see your comments, I will definitely chime in and answer those, and hopefully I see them when I'm at a stoplight. But I just want to make sure you guys know that, so I'm practicing safe driving skills. But I highly recommend, if you guys can find it, it's called the Steve Shapiro, The Complete Course of Listening. Now, that Complete Course of Listening is absolutely phenomenal because it breaks down listening into components that you can really look at yourself and say, am I a good listener or am I not a good listener, based on these principles. Later on in Periscopes, I'll talk about principles, because principles is what makes the world go round. Principles is what makes the world tick. And without principles, success definitely can't happen. So that'll happen on a future Periscope, so stay tuned. But when it comes to listening is the silent art of enlisting. So let's break it down with silent. Per Steve Shapiro, if you were to rearrange the letters in the word listen, you get the word silent. Now, when you are listening, that means you have to be quiet, for lack of a better phrase. You have to be quiet, and you have to let the person tell you what they want to tell you, so that way you can adequately hear about what you have to say, or what they have to say. Now, not every conversation has to have the intent listening, because a conversation is just that. It's a back and forth. But if I spent 6 months in Hawaii and you come back from your trip for a week and you're telling me about it, like, oh my goodness, my trip to Hawaii was so amazing. I was there for a week and it was awesome and it was amazing and it was phenomenal. And then all of a sudden I say to you, oh yeah, I spent 6 months in Hawaii. You don't care that I spent 6 months in Hawaii. You want to tell me how excited you are about the 1 week you spent in Hawaii and the phenomenal experiences that you had and the waterfalls that you saw, etc., etc. But far too often, we have a tendency, and he calls it in the series, an automatic teller machine, an ATM. We have a tendency when someone is telling us a story to want to tell our story that's similar as they're telling their story. And what we don't realize when we do that is we really just invalidate or disregard the fact that someone is telling us something very important to them. Notice I said to them. Just because you have a similar story to what someone is telling you doesn't mean that your story is important to them. When we communicate things that are important to us, we want someone to be engaged, to be listening, to be present, so that way we can get our story or our experience off our chest, so that way you can see how excited we are. But when we do become an automatic telling machine, we accidentally cut people off to relate an experience that we had similarly, and it makes somebody not feel as though you're actually listening to their excitement and to their story because you've automatically told yours. Now, when you do listen and someone does have a story that they want you to hear and that they want you to know and that they're excited about, or that needs clarification as you're listening, if you rearrange the words listen again, you get enlist. Enlist means to ask questions. You have to learn how to ask clarifying questions based on what you just heard in order to make sure that you understood and you understand the moral of what the person is saying the way that they want you to understand it. Let me say that again. The key with communication and with listening is to be able to be silent as they are telling you something that's important to them, and to enlist, ask questions to make sure you understand what they are trying to tell you based on how they are trying to explain the information. So if someone says, hey, I need you to go tomorrow, I need you to cut the grass, and when you cut the grass, you need to pay close attention, because watch out for the hedges and watch out for the flowers and watch out for the garden. So as I'm listening, I need to ask questions now and enlist and say, okay, you asked me not to get close to the garden and to this and to this. If I'm understanding you correctly, is this location, is the center of the yard okay for me to cut the grass? That's clarifying, because you have to clarify when you're listening intently to make sure that as you follow through with the directive that someone is asking you, you are following through based on what they expect to have completed and have done. The same goes with relationships, the same goes with family, the same goes with friends. I really want to challenge everyone in this Periscope, and this will be one of my shorter ones because it's a Saturday and I'm on the way home, and my trip is a lot faster than it normally is because there's nobody else on the road. But I encourage you all to, as you listen, I want you to step it out with this, and as you listen, when someone is super excited and super amped and wants to really tell you their story, if you have a similar story to what they are telling you, I challenge each and every one of you to step it out and not say anything about your story. Listen intently to what that person has to say. Get excited with them. Share their enthusiasm. Share their experience, and enlist now and ask them questions. Well, what did you do when you were in Hawaii? Or which island did you visit? Did you go to the waterfalls? Did you see this? Did you see that? Because when you can enlist after you have been silent, it shows and it proves to the person that you're talking to that you are really paying attention and you're listening to what they have to say. And there's nothing more exciting in life than having someone listen to you intently and genuinely and able to continue to engage your excitement, because the questions that you're asking are staying in the moment because you're listening to what they have to say. Really quickly, how many of you guys have met somebody new, you shook their hand, and as you shook their hand to say hello, 2 seconds later, you forgot their name? You forgot their name because you were listening, or you were thinking about your own name as you were asking them their name. You know your name. You don't have to think about what your name is. But when you meet somebody new, oftentimes people and myself included, but I've been working on this, you have to be listening in the moment. As you listen in the moment, that gives you the ability to answer correctly based on the question that's being asked. Or ask questions and enlist based on the questions that are being asked. Listening is key. Listening is vital. Listening is hard. Listening is very, very hard because everyone thinks they're a good listener. But at the end of the day, are you truly a good listener? Will your friends, will your family, will your boss, will your peers, will they say that you're a good listener based on how you are silent when they're talking about something they're excited about? And then how you enlist and ask questions about the thing they're excited about, or you enlist and ask questions about the directive that you have to fulfill. Those are two primary components in listening that help someone understand that you really care. Because if you're listening shows that you care because you're taking time out of your schedule, out of your day, to have that conversation with a person to see what they're all about and what they're excited about. So for today, that is my motivational minute on listening. Don't forget, step it out and be silent when you're listening. And then enlist, ask questions after you listen, to make sure that you can clarify and know that what you heard is what they wanted you to understand from the situation. Don't forget, words bring life. Speak them into existence. If you're looking for a speaker for your church youth group, for your school group, for high school kids, college kids, entry-level employees, hit me up, Daniel@danielspeaks.com, Daniel@danielspeaks.com. The Speaks is SPEAKES, and I'll be glad to speak with you about the needs of your organization or your company or your church, and I'd love to hear from you. Aside from that, have a wonderful day. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.